Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at AI and semiconductors.
Yeah.
We found this really interesting article by the Motley Fool, and they're saying that the iShares Semiconductor ETF,
SOXX.
SOXX, yeah, SOXX could be like the ticket to take advantage of this AI spending boom that everybody's predicting is going to come in 2025.
Right.
So we wanted to take a closer look at that.
Well, I think one of the things that is really interesting is that AI it's not just sort of flashy gadgets or self-driving cars anymore. It's like a fundamental shift in how technology functions.
Okay.
And that's attracting just a ton of investment.
So we hear AI everywhere these days, but like what makes it so groundbreaking? We've all played around with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It can like poems and code and answer any question you throw at it, but that kind of intelligence requires massive computing power.
Absolutely.
And that's where the semiconductors come in.
Exactly. AI depends on highly specialized chips and massive data centers to operate, which creates this huge demand for the companies that are making all this hardware.
Yeah.
In fact, Morgan Stanley is predicting that tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Meta will spend a combined $300 billion on AI infrastructure in 2025.
$300 billion.
Yeah.
That's insane. So it's not just the usual suspects like NVIDIA raking in all the profits, right? This spending frenzy must be reaching other players in the semiconductor ecosystem.
Absolutely. And that's where SOXX enters the picture.
Okay.
It's an ETF offering diversified exposure to the hardware side of this AI boom, making it really attractive, I think, to investors who are looking to ride this wave.
Yeah.
SOXX holds 30 companies,
Wow.
all focused on the semiconductor sector.
So instead of betting on individual companies in this AI chip race, I can just grab a slice of the whole pie with SOXX.
That's the idea.
Okay.
But remember, even with a specialized ETF like SOXX, diversification in your overall investment portfolio is key.
Yeah, of course.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, no matter how shiny that basket might seem.
Solid advice. Now let's talk about some of the big players in this ETF. The article mentioned that the top 5 holdings make up a significant chunk of SOXX's portfolio.
Yeah.
Who are they and what makes them so crucial?
Well, at the top, we have Broadcom, known for their AI accelerators. These chips are customizable and often a more cost-effective alternative to NVIDIA's offerings.
Interesting.
So think of it as tailoring a solution
for
companies like Alphabet with really specific needs.
Gotcha.
Broadcom is also a major player in networking equipment, which is vital for data centers.
So while NVIDIA might be the star quarterback, Broadcom is kind of like the offensive line, making sure everything runs smoothly.
That's a great analogy.
And they're scoring big financially, too.
They are.
Okay, cool. So now let's talk about NVIDIA, current leader in AI chips.
Right.
Their newly launched Blackwell GPUs are claiming performance gains of 30 times compared to the previous H100 model. It's a game changer.
30 times more powerful. That's incredible.
It is.
No wonder they're generating so much buzz. But how's the competition responding?
Yeah.
Are they just letting NVIDIA run away with the game?
Well, not exactly. Advanced Micro Devices, or AMD, is trying to challenge NVIDIA's dominance in data center GPUs.
Okay.
Their upcoming MI350 chip, expected late 2025, aims to go head-to-head with NVIDIA. But what's particularly interesting is that AMD already dominates the market for AI chips in personal computers.
Oh, so as AI applications start appearing in our everyday devices, AMD is strategically positioned to capitalize on that growth.
I think so.
That's a smart long-term play. What about Qualcomm and Texas Instruments? They round out the top 5 in SOXX.
They are both major players in the semiconductor world, but let's save a deep dive into their specifics for another time.
Okay, sounds good.
It is worth mentioning that SOXX also includes companies like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, or TSMC, who fabricates chips for giants like NVIDIA and AMD.
In Micron Technology, a major supplier of memory and storage for AI systems.
Wow, SOXX really does offer a broad perspective on all these companies that are driving this AI revolution.
Yeah.
It seems like trying to capture all those angles with individual stocks would be a real headache.
Yeah, that's the advantage of an ETF like SOXX. It lets you ride the wave without needing to be an expert on every single company involved.
Yeah.
And historically, it's been a pretty impressive ride. Since 2001. SOXX has generated an average annual return of 11.2%.
Wow.
Surpassing the S&P 500's average return of 8.5%.
That's impressive. But how has it performed more recently, given the rise of technologies like cloud computing and the acceleration of AI?
Over the past decade, SOXX has surged even higher with an average annual return of 22.7%.
Wow.
That's nearly double the S&P 500's.
Okay.
13.7% return over the same period.
Wow.
This growth has been fueled by advancements like cloud computing and, of course, the increasing demand for AI-specific chips.
Those are some really impressive numbers. But is it realistic to expect those high returns to continue forever?
Well, maintaining a 20% plus growth rate over the long term is unlikely.
Yeah.
Think of it like a rocket launch.
Okay.
That initial burst of speed is really hard to sustain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some potential factors that could, slow down SOXX's momentum?
Well, one major factor is the uncertainty surrounding AI adoption.
Mm-hmm.
If the technology doesn't live up to the hype,
right,
or if development hits some unforeseen roadblocks, those massive spending projections could shrink.
Yeah.
That would definitely impact SOX.
So even with a promising ETF like SOXX, it's crucial to understand that every investment carries some level of risk.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the importance of a diversified portfolio.
Right.
SOXX can be a powerful tool, but it shouldn't be your only investment.
Right.
Remember to spread your bets
of course,
to weather any potential storms.
Speaking of diversification, we haven't delved much into Qualcomm and Texas Instruments, the remaining companies in SOXX's top 5 holdings.
Yep.
What can you tell us about their role in this ecosystem?
Well, Qualcomm is a powerhouse in mobile chips, powering many of the smartphones we use every day. They're also making significant moves into the automotive and Internet of Things sectors, both of which are experiencing rapid growth.
So Qualcomm is well positioned to benefit from the increasing demand for chips in all sorts of connected devices, not just those directly related to AI.
Exactly. They're strategically diversifying their product portfolio to capture those emerging markets.
Makes sense. Now, Texas Instruments focuses on a different area, analog and embedded processing chips.
Right.
These components are essential in a wide range of electronic devices. It seems like SOXX covers a wide spectrum of semiconductor applications, not just those specifically tied to AI. Is that a fair assessment?
You're absolutely right. That breadth is what makes SOXX an interesting option for investors looking for exposure to the overall growth of the semiconductor industry, not just a specific niche within it.
Now, earlier we touched on Broadcom offering AI accelerators as a more budget-friendly option compared to NVIDIA's chips. Can you elaborate on the significance of that?
Well, it speaks to the healthy competition within the AI chip market.
Right.
Remember those massive data centers we discussed earlier?
Yes. Yeah.
Building and running them is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So tech giants are always looking for ways to optimize costs without sacrificing performance.
Right.
So Broadcom is catering to that need by providing a more cost-effective solution, especially for companies like Alphabet that require immense processing power, but are also mindful of their bottom line.
So Broadcom is kind of threading that needle, providing the power that these companies need, but at a price point that makes sense for them.
Exactly. And Broadcom's ability to customize their chips to specific client needs gives them a real competitive advantage.
Interesting.
It's not just about raw power. It's about finding that right balance of performance and cost efficiency for each client's unique demands.
This is a great example of how even within a focused ETF like SOXX, there's a whole ecosystem of companies with different specialties, all vying for their piece of the AI pie.
Absolutely.
It's a dynamic market for sure.
It certainly is.
And ultimately, that competition drives innovation, leading to the development of even more powerful and efficient chips that benefit everyone.
Right.
Speaking of competition, we discussed AMD's efforts to challenge NVIDIA in data center GPUs with their upcoming MI350 chip.
Yeah.
But what I found particularly interesting was their current dominance in AI chips for personal computers.
Right, and that's a key point. As AI applications become more prevalent in everyday devices, that market segment could explode for AMD.
Yeah, so while other companies are focused on the current data center boom, AMD might be playing the long game, focusing on a market that's poised to take off in the coming years.
Exactly. It's a classic example of looking beyond the immediate hype and identifying companies with a strong foothold in emerging markets. It's a strategy that could pay off big time down the road.
Now, beyond those top 5 holdings, there are other important players in SOXX. The article highlighted Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, TSMC, right, and Micron Technology.
Right.
What roles did they play in this complex ecosystem?
Well, TSMC is the world's largest contract chip maker.
Okay.
They manufacture chips for companies like NVIDIA and AMD, who design the chips but don't have their own fabrication facility.
Gotcha.
It's a highly specialized and complex process.
So TSMC is like the behind-the-scenes manufacturing powerhouse essential for actually getting those cutting-edge chips into the hands of the tech giants. It sounds like a really crucial link in the supply chain.
Absolutely, without TSMC.
Yeah.
Many of these chip designs would never see the light of day.
And then you have Micron Technology, a leading supplier of memory and storage solutions.
Right.
AI applications require vast amounts of data.
Yeah.
And Micron provides the infrastructure to store and access that data quickly and efficiently. So even though Micron might not be designing the AI chips themselves, they're providing a critical component that makes the entire system function.
That's right.
Another reminder that the semiconductor industry is this complex web of interconnected companies.
Yes.
We've covered a lot of ground on SOXX today, from its impressive historical performance to the key players shaping its future. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to the potential risks. What are some things that investors should keep in mind?
Of course, it's crucial to be aware of the downsides of any investment.
Right.
And SOXX is no exception.
Of course.
We already discussed the possibility of AI development not living up to expectations.
Right.
If those massive spending projections don't materialize, it could create a ripple effect throughout the entire semiconductor industry.
So even though SOXX offers diversified exposure, it's not immune to broader economic trends or technological shifts.
That's right. And it's also important to remember that the semiconductor industry is inherently cyclical.
Okay.
Periods of rapid growth are often followed by downturns.
Yeah.
So investors need to be prepared
for
those fluctuations.
So what's the bottom line for someone considering SOXX as an investment?
Well, SOXX offers a compelling way to tap into the potential of the AI revolution and the broader growth of the semiconductor industry.
Right.
But it's crucial to approach it with a balanced perspective.
Yeah.
Understanding both the potential rewards and the inherent risks.
Sound advice. And as we've emphasized throughout this, deep dive diversification is key.
Absolutely.
SOXX can be a valuable part of a well-rounded portfolio, but it shouldn't be your only bet.
Exactly. Informed decision-making is the best way to navigate the exciting, of often volatile world of investing.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into SOXX and the AI-driven semiconductor boom. We've explored the key players, their strategies, and the potential risks and rewards for investors. What are your final thoughts for our listeners today?
Well, I think, it's important to remember that the semiconductor industry is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
The article mentioned a prediction that data center operators will invest $1 trillion in AI infrastructure over the next few years.
$1 trillion. That's hard to even fathom.
It's mind-boggling.
What does that kind of investment signal about the future of AI? I mean, is this just hype?
Right.
Or are we on the verge of something truly transformative?
Well, that level of investment definitely indicates a strong belief in AI's potential to reshape entire industries. It's not just about incremental improvements anymore. We're talking about the possibility of entirely new markets emerging.
Wow.
And traditional business models being disrupted.
So the ripple effects of this AI boom are going to extend far beyond just the semiconductor companies themselves. What other sectors could see significant changes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think about the potential in healthcare, finance, manufacturing, even transportation. AI has the power to revolutionize how these industries operate, leading to increased efficiency, groundbreaking innovations, and potentially even the creation of entirely new business models.
So for investors, this $1 trillion prediction isn't just about finding the right semiconductor stocks.
Right.
It's about recognizing the wider impact AI will have on the global economy and positioning themselves accordingly.
Exactly. And that raises an interesting question.
Yeah.
If this prediction holds true, what other industries might be significantly impacted by AI?
Right.
And how might those impacts create new investment opportunities?
It's something to think about as I'm exploring my own investment strategy for sure. Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into SOXX and the AI-driven semiconductor boom. We've uncovered the key players, the potential rewards, and the inherent risks involved in this rapidly evolving landscape. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they navigate this exciting but often complex world?
I think just remember that the most successful investors are those who stay informed, think critically, and are always learning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Great advice.
There's always more to discover, especially in a field as dynamic as AI.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of AI and semiconductors. Until next time, happy investing.